going on, dudes and dudettes? So I have to do a lot of space talking here just to get a lot of these highlights out of the way. And can't believe just since Friday there's been so much freaking news that popped up about all these things. Hopefully some of the highlights are already playing because I had to get a lot of good stuff coming for you guys. So yes, the Lakers, they beat the Pelicans the first time last week at some point, 118-109 at home, and LeBron James had 40 in that game. It's his season high so far this year. And Zion Williamson, the ex-Duke forward, had 29 points. So it was really cool to see all of them get together for the first time, because the past two meetings both were either injured or not playing in that game. But the Lakers were without Anthony Davis as well, but they were able to get the W, which is still cool at home. So I'm glad they're able to do that and eventually go on a nice little run that they had this week, but we'll get into those. Then also Michael Pittman Jr., the wide receiver, and Austin Jackson, the offensive tackle, the only two guys invited to the NFL Combine from USC. The reports came back that they excelled very well. It's really good to hear. Hopefully they improve their draft stock. I know Austin Jackson, the offensive tackle, is looking to get drafted in the first round. A lot of mock drafts have him in there, which is pretty cool. Be the first time in a while, I think, since Adoree Jackson, that a USC player was picked in the first round. So that's pretty cool for them. Then the Anaheim Ducks had a little bit of a weird schedule right now, but they played two of the best teams in Edmonton and Pittsburgh back-to-back, and somehow they beat them. They beat Edmonton 4-3 in overtime, which was surprising, and then they beat one of the better teams out east in Pittsburgh, and they even won that game 3-2. And then I just knew they were gonna drop their next two games, which were against the lowly New Jersey Devils and Chicago Blackhawks, and they lost both those games dramatically. And I just don't understand this team, but maybe they were too afraid that they're all of a sudden winning again and they want a higher draft pick, so we'll see how that goes for them. And then the Chargers, it seems like they're going to franchise tag their tight end Hunter Henry, which is a pretty smart thing to do. Hopefully he gives them the hometown discount, because he was injured for a whole entire year and didn't really excel the year after he came back as well. So maybe either when he signs the big deal, he gives them a nice thing where he doesn't ask for too much money or doesn't haggle them as well, and do a waiting game even though they might franchise him, because I know they gotta pay Austin Eckler as well, because I'm pretty sure Melvin Gordon's not gonna come back at running back, and we'll get you some other running back news for them later. But yes, looks most likely a franchise tag is coming for Hunter Henry, which I don't mind at all. Then the Lakers went on the road to Golden State and they beat them 116-86. Not surprising, just because of how bad Golden State has been this year. But LeBron was actually out that game, and then AD came back for that game, which is weird, but he did score 23 points for them. Kyle Kuzma stepped up, scoring 18 points for them as well. Had a lot of good plays. It was surprisingly close the first couple quarters, but as usual, as good teams do, they blew them out in the second half, especially the crappier teams, which I'm very happy to see from the Lakers, because like I've always said, it's been very tough watching them the past couple years, so definitely happy with this one. Then CBS Sports has been saying that, I think they just released a new mock draft saying that Jordan Love, the Utah State quarterback, will be selected by the Chargers at number 6 overall. I do have a problem, just because I don't see all the love for Jordan Love. I don't know. I think he could be similar to a Josh Allen, where they come out of nowhere from a smaller school, and I just don't know how he was so good. It was the same thing though. They were so good their year prior to leaving for the NFL, but then that last year in college they sucked pretty bad. And I just think if he was a competitor, he would have transferred out, being a grad transfer, and went to a college to try to win, instead of being in a system and with a head coach and players that he wasn't used to knowing the past couple years. So I don't know. I just think he's a bad thing. That's why I prefer them do something, because I want them to get like an offensive tackle. Because either if they sign a quarterback this free agency, or to stick with Tyrod Taylor and get a quarterback later, like a Jalen Hurts, in my opinion. I think going with a guy like that who actually improved his draft stock, so I can't wait till like the 3rd or 4th round to pick him. But I don't mind selecting them in the 2nd round as well for the Chargers. But getting a solid offensive tackle, I know another thing like NFL.com, one of those sites, mocked that Louisville offensive tackle, Mekhi Becton. He's like one of the biggest and tallest guys there, and still ran like a 5.40, something like that. I mean, it's cool, but I prefer like a Tristan Wirfs from Iowa compared to him, or even like an Andrew Thomas from Georgia as well, just because they played against a lot stiffer competition in those conferences compared to the American Conference for Louisville. So I would trust them more. And then you pick up Jalen Hurts in the 2nd round. I just think it's something cool to do, and you give Jalen Hurts a year to figure out the Chargers offense behind Tyrod Taylor, and then maybe throw him in later this season as well. You never know, but that's what I think should happen, really. Then the Lakers also waived shooting guard Troy Daniels, try to open up a roster spot and get into who they're looking at. But yeah, they waived him. He hasn't really been playing that much as of late, so not that big of a hit for the Lakers. But the Lakers once again had a matchup with Zion and the Pelicans, and this was actually at New Orleans this time, and the Lakers ended up beating them 122 to 114. And this was again LeBron James came back, but Anthony Davis was out with an injury. But LeBron James did end up getting like 34, 12 assists, like 13 rebounds, like something crazy. He had a nice triple-double. And then Zion Williamson actually had his career high in 35 points. I think it's like 1 or 2 more points than his career high, but still a career high. And of course it's against the Lakers, but yeah, it's a pretty fun matchup. I'm sure the NBA really would prefer that 1-8 matchup in the playoffs, but I really don't. That's why I think the Lakers intentionally lost to Memphis like Friday night, and then beat the Pelicans on Sunday, just to keep the distance between the 8th spot between those two teams. But that's just the way I think, because the Lakers were pretty healthy that Friday night, and they somehow lost by 20. And then Anthony Davis less Lakers beat the Pelicans pretty handily. So yeah, I think there's some suspicion going on there. And also do some other quick stuff. The Lakers, they did work out after waiving Troy Daniels the other day. This last Monday, I believe it was J.R. Smith and Dion Waiters. And from what I saw, they said that Dion Waiters did have a pretty impressive workout. He did meet with the Lakers brass, all the people that are running the operations right now, after his workout for like 30 minutes. So he seems like he might be the guy, even though J.R. Smith did want to play with LeBron James. I just think Waiters can sometimes play defense, and he is a offensive juggernaut off the bench as well, so he might end up getting some playing time in the playoffs. You never know, but either way, they could still have some time to bring one guy in, and if they don't like him, then just bring in the other guy and see what he has as well. So we'll see how that goes. Then USC basketball, they beat a pretty good team in Arizona, who is struggling as well, just to even get into the tournament. They look, well, I'll get to that in another video, because it's just BS how they treat USC basketball. But they did beat this Arizona team 57 to 48. So it's good to see Onyeka Okongwu, the star freshman for USC, once again played very well. So I'm really happy to see him go against a lot of these guys from Arizona who are supposedly a lot of first-round picks, even though the team hasn't been playing all that well. But yeah, and then also USC did beat another Arizona team, Arizona State. They beat them 71 to 61. Pretty easy victory for them. Glad they're able to get a couple of these wins, and one of the wins last week. So now they just have this Saturday UCLA, the crosstown rivalry right before they go into Pac-12 play. So they could get a nice little run of the UCLA win and a couple wins in the Pac-12 tournament, then they should be a lot higher seed into the NCAA tournament than what they're projected. So that's what I'm hoping for. Then the Chargers agreed to part ways with wide receiver Travis Benjamin. He just has always been known as a speedy guy, but even when playing with the Chargers, he only had a handful of plays that was really like that. You couldn't really trust him to be an actual type of wide receiver to do certain type of routes like Keenan Allen. So I'm really glad they parted ways with them, and hopefully they save some money and to be able to do their free agency. I know they have about like 49 some odd million, but maybe I'll do another video about that and see what they can do with that type of money. Then both ex-Duke players were named Player of the Week, or Player of the Month actually. Jason Tatum from the Boston Celtics was named Player of the Month on the East just because he's been balling like crazy this February, so that was awesome. And then also Zion Williamson was the Rookie of the Month for the West, and he's just been averaging 20 plus points and almost a double-double ever since he's been playing so far. Even though it's a small sample size, it's still pretty impressive sample size, I might say. Then also Duke finally got some revenge. They were on a 3-game skid here and there, and then now they actually got this W, kind of like a revenge W, as I said, against North Carolina State, who they lost to a week ago, but they were able to beat this team 88-69. Once again, they came out flat against this team. I don't know why they always do that against NC State, but they were able to get back into the game and get a pretty big lead and then just eventually play. But that's just how Duke seems to be playing. When they play a lot of these crappier teams, they'll come back and play very well. It's just, I just have a bit of a problem with them going into March Madness with the inconsistencies that they have right now. And I don't think I'll have them going into the final as I usually do, but I have to do some research before the March Madness starts. And then also an ex-USC power forward, Chimezie Metu, who I've always championed to be on the Lakers because I thought he could help him out at that power forward / center position. And he's been in the G League a little bit right now for the San Antonio Spurs, but he's been great this past week. I know earlier in the week he had like 27 points, and then he followed that up with a 32-point outing as well. So I'm pretty sure he'll get some playing time now that Jakob Poeltl, a guy at the center position for the Spurs, has an injured knee. So hopefully they'll bump him up to the normal team and he'll get some running time with the ones and hopefully do some good for USC right there. Then also the Chargers met with a couple of guys at the combine, but most notably some of the guys that I've been championing them to draft and guys I've liked so far this college year were Zach Moss, the running back from Utah. I think he has some durability issues, but if he can stay healthy, and hoping that he'll be a pair with Austin Eckler, him coming off the bench, and Justin Jackson, then you won't have to worry about his durability issues. And you always need depth at running back, especially when you're losing a top guy like Melvin Gordon. So I really like this guy, and hopefully it's a pick for them when it comes to next month as well. And then they also met with safety Kayvon Wallace from Clemson, the national champion. So it's never wrong to get guys who won national championships or guys from Alabama as well, really. But yeah, I'm glad they're looking at a guy. It's kind of makes me wonder if they're going to re-sign Adrian Phillips or not, or they're just looking to have depth at that position, which they did not have last year because this year Adley, their second round pick last year, was injured. So I think this is more of a depth kind of thing, which I'm happy about because he's a pretty good player. Then also the final thing right here is the Lakers. They played last night and they were able to beat Philadelphia, who did not have Joel Embiid or Ben Simmons, and it was somehow only like a 10-point win or so. But yeah, just another game that was kind of back and forth the first 2 quarters, and then LeBron and AD got pretty hot, especially AD. The score was 120-107 for the Lakers, and then Anthony Davis, he had 37 points, 13 rebounds, and 13 rebounds. And then LeBron James had 22 points and 14 assists. So once again, it's just another outing of where LeBron is definitely pushing Anthony Davis to his full potential, where he's not having to, at least LeBron is not having to waste a lot of his energy, which is smart, which is good, especially going into the playoffs right here. I'm sure he'll get another game like that Golden State game against some of these crappier teams down the stretch, where he'll get a night off and they'll just say it's his groin as usual. Same thing with Anthony Davis, so they could be pretty close to 100% as healthy as they can heading into the playoffs, which is what I'm really excited about for this Laker team this year. I'm not worried about the Clippers as much as a lot of other people, but it should be a fun matchup, and hopefully it's in the Western Conference Finals. But thanks for watching, people. Like and subscribe. Comment down below. Let me know what you all think. Have a great rest of your day.